Let's dive deep into the dramatic trade war saga of 2025, a year that would become a turning point in global economics and international relations. The world watched as two economic giants, the United States and China, locked horns in a high-stakes confrontation that would send shockwaves through every corner of the globe. At the heart of this conflict, the US and China found themselves embroiled in a heated economic battle, each side determined to defend its interests and assert its dominance on the world stage. The tension was palpable, with every negotiation, every press conference, and every policy announcement scrutinized by markets and governments worldwide. In a bold and controversial move, President Trump announced a sweeping 145% tariff on a wide range of Chinese goods. The administration argued that this drastic measure was necessary to force China to change its long-standing trade practices, which the US claimed were unfair and damaging to American industries. The message was clear. The era of quiet diplomacy was over, and the gloves were off. China, refusing to back down, retaliated swiftly with its own set of tariffs targeting key American exports. What followed was a costly and relentless economic ping-pong, with each side escalating the conflict in hopes of gaining the upper hand. Cargo ships sat idle at ports, containers piled up at shipping terminals, and the flow of goods between the two nations slowed to a crawl. This tit-for-tat exchange threw global commerce into utter chaos. Industries that relied on stable trade, like American agriculture, were suddenly caught in the crossfire. Farmers who once shipped soybeans and corn to China found their crops unsold and their equipment idle. The uncertainty rippled through rural communities, threatening livelihoods and upending generations-old family businesses. The US government had hoped for a quick and decisive victory, believing that economic pressure would force China to the negotiating table. But China's response was calculated and resilient, targeting American industries that were already vulnerable. Factory workers in the Midwest faced layoffs, while Chinese exporters scrambled to find new markets for their goods. The economic pain was real, and it was spreading fast. The ripple effects of this trade war extended far beyond the borders of the US and China. Other countries, from Europe to South America, found themselves caught in the middle, forced to navigate an increasingly unstable and unpredictable global landscape. Supply chains that once spanned continents were disrupted, and businesses everywhere had to rethink their strategies in the face of mounting uncertainty. Tariffs, once a tool of last resort, had now become the weapons of choice. The era of quiet behind-the-scenes negotiations was replaced by public standoffs and hardline tactics. Deals fell apart, partnerships dissolved, and trust between nations eroded as the world watched the two superpowers dig in their heels. But as with any conflict, the first and most visible casualties were not the politicians or the policymakers, but the everyday people who worked the land and kept the wheels of commerce turning. American farmers, already facing tough times, now stared at barren fields and empty wallets. Families in rural communities felt the strain, wondering how they would weather the storm. As we continue, we'll see just how deep these impacts go, and what the future might hold for those caught in the middle of the tariff showdown. Across the vast heartland of America, farmers are facing a crisis that goes far beyond the fields they tend. In particular, those in the Midwest, often called the nation's breadbasket, are on the front lines of an economic battle that few saw coming. These farmers, who have long been the backbone of rural communities, are now bearing the brunt of China's retaliation in the ongoing trade war. Their daily lives, once dictated by the rhythms of planting and harvest, are now overshadowed by uncertainty and anxiety about the future. For years, China was not just a customer, but the single largest buyer of US agricultural products, especially soybeans. American soybeans filled cargo ships bound for Chinese ports, supporting not only farmers but also truckers, processors, and entire rural economies. The relationship was mutually beneficial, with US farmers relying on Chinese demand to keep their operations afloat. But with the imposition of tariffs, the cost of American soybeans has soared. Suddenly, what was once a staple of international trade became a risky, expensive proposition. Chinese buyers faced with higher prices began to look elsewhere, turning to countries like Brazil and Argentina for their soybean needs. This shift left American farmers with mountains of unsold crops and plummeting prices, making it nearly impossible to break even. The impact is visible across the Midwest. Storage facilities are overflowing with unsold soybeans, and some grain silos sit empty, a stark reminder of lost opportunities. Farmers who once took pride in feeding the world now face the painful reality of crops they can't sell and bills they can't pay. The financial damage is staggering. During the 2018 trade dispute, American farmers lost billions of dollars, and the echoes of that crisis are being felt again today. Many are forced to auction off equipment, take out emergency loans, or even consider selling land that's been in their families for generations. The strain isn't just financial, it's deeply personal. Farm families are having tough conversations around kitchen tables, wondering how they'll make ends meet. The business model that sustained them for decades has been upended, and the stress is taking a toll on mental health and family stability. This crisis isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet, it's about livelihoods, traditions, and the survival of generational farms that have shaped the American landscape for centuries. The risk isn't just losing a season's profit, it's losing a way of life. Ironically, many of those now suffering most were once vocal supporters of the president and his trade policies. Now, they find themselves caught in the crossfire, questioning whether the promises made to rural America will ever be fulfilled. For these farmers, the front line isn't just a metaphor, it's a daily reality. China is shopping for soybeans elsewhere, forging new partnerships with Brazil and Argentina. This move secures China's food supply and hurts American farmers. China is diversifying its trade partners, reducing reliance on the US by building new alliances. China is reshaping global trade, positioning itself at the center. This strategic pivot could have long-lasting effects, making it hard for the US to regain lost markets. For American farmers, this is a worst-case scenario, potentially losing a market built over decades. In Washington, the cries of struggling farmers are prompting talks of a financial bailout. The Trump administration is considering aid to address the economic devastation. Secretary Brooke Rollins confirms plans to help farmers, akin to a firefighter offering water after setting a fire. The proposed bailout aims to address immediate and long-term industry damage. Farmers face bankruptcy without government help, reflecting the urgency in Washington. The dilemma is balancing a tough trade stance with aiding a key political constituency. The trade war's impact on American farmers is immediate, with crop prices plummeting. Soybeans, crucial for exports, have lost value, affecting farmers' income. The financial strain is palpable, with farmers fearing financial ruin. This isn't just data, it's about families struggling to make ends meet. Farmers are caught in a cycle of falling crop values and mounting debts. The pressure for a government bailout grows as the economic squeeze tightens. This isn't the first trade war farmers have faced. In 2018, a similar conflict led to massive export losses and a federal bailout. The current situation could be worse, with higher tariffs and stronger retaliation. Bailouts provide temporary relief, but don't solve the underlying issues. The agricultural sector remains vulnerable to international disputes. Without lasting resolutions, farmers are stuck in a cycle of dependency. Agricultural trade groups are warning of the trade war's catastrophic impact. Retaliatory tariffs are an existential threat to American farmers. Farmers face a double hit: lost export sales and rising equipment costs. The financial strain is immense, squeezing profit margins. Industry groups urge the government to end trade disputes and reopen markets. The unified voice of agriculture demands immediate action to prevent disaster. Farmers face a perfect storm of challenges beyond the trade war. Cuts to government food aid programs add to their woes. These programs provided a crucial demand floor for crops. Farmers are trapped between global market unpredictability and shifting domestic policies. The trade war amplifies existing financial stress, threatening the industry's long-term health. A comprehensive strategy is needed to address these pressures. American agriculture is at a crossroads, facing one of its most challenging periods in recent history. The ongoing trade war has pushed many farmers to the brink, forcing them to make difficult decisions about their livelihoods and the future of their land. For generations, farming has been the backbone of rural America, but today, uncertainty hangs heavy over the fields. As global tensions rise, the impact is felt not just in boardrooms or on trading floors, but in the everyday lives of those who work the land from sunrise to sunset. The future is uncertain, with falling prices and lost markets making it harder than ever for farmers to stay afloat. Many are watching the value of their crops plummet, while unsold harvests pile up in silos and storage sheds. The financial strain is not just a number on a balance sheet, it's a reality that affects families, communities, and the entire rural economy. As markets close and opportunities shrink, the question on everyone's mind is, how long can this last? Even if the trade war ends tomorrow, the damage may be irreversible for some. Years of hard work and investment can be wiped out in a single season. Abandoned equipment and crumbling barns are stark reminders of the risks farmers face. The ripple effects extend beyond the farm gate, threatening the survival of small towns that depend on agriculture for jobs and economic stability. Meanwhile, China is building new supply chains, forging relationships with other countries to secure their food needs. This shift makes it increasingly difficult for the U.S. to regain lost ground, even if trade relations improve. American farmers now face the challenge of competing in a global market that is rapidly changing, where old partnerships may never fully recover. Continued conflict could lead to increased dependency on federal aid, as more farmers turn to government programs just to survive. While these safety nets provide temporary relief, they are not a long-term solution. Relying on aid can create uncertainty and limit the ability of farmers to invest in their future, innovate, or pass their farms on to the next generation. The current crisis highlights the urgent need for stable, forward-thinking solutions for American agriculture's future. This means not only addressing trade issues but also investing in new technologies, sustainable practices and policies that support farmers in adapting to a changing world. Collaboration between government, industry, and farmers themselves will be key to building resilience and ensuring long-term prosperity. The choices made now by policymakers, industry leaders, and farmers will shape the future of food production in America for generations to come. The path forward is uncertain, but with determination, innovation, and support, American agriculture can continue to feed the nation and the world, adapting to whatever challenges lie ahead.